Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and Definition has officially signed on for 2021 of the Heavy Spoilers Show. It's pretty crazy news, but in addition to this, we also have updates that Willem Dafoe will be returning as the Green Goblin, Thomas Haden Church is back as Sandman, Charlie Cox will once more be playing Daredevil, and a Fantastic Four theory that may end up being how the first family are brought across to the MCU. We also have a report that the SNYDER Cut is going to be R-rated because Batman dropped some F-bombs, and rather than doing two videos I thought I'd put them all in one, but the stories will be time coded below if you want to skip ahead. If this is your first time swinging by the channel though, make sure you smash that subscribe button faster than you'd smash Aunt May, the old one. And don't forget we're giving away 3 free copies of the Lord of the Rings 4K box set to our subscribers who leave comments, but we'll talk about that later in the video. Now with that out of the way, thank you for clicking this, let's get into the breakdown. Okay, so earlier this week I saw something I shouldn't have, no not that, and I've been sitting tight-lipped on it for some time to see if anyone else reported it before me. Luckily I didn't have to wait too long, and quicker than the Daily Bugle, the Illuminati have broke the exclusive story that both Willem Dafoe and Thomas Haden Church are in negotiations to reprise their roles as the Green Goblin and Sandman. During the Disney Investor Day, Kevin Feige stated that Spiderman 3 would be exploring the multiverse, and over the last couple of weeks we've had a whole host of announcements including the return of Jamie Foxx as Electro, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, and Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Now clearly the film has shaped up to be something special, and though I don't tend to jump on rumours like this, I actually did hear from quite a reliable source inside Disney that Willem Dafoe was who the studio were really after from the original trilogy, as he's seen as the most memorable villain. Even though he only appeared as hallucinations sometimes, Dafoe is the only bad guy to feature in all 3 films beside Harry, and it's difficult to argue that anyone is more important in forming Peter Parker's journey. Well, that is still up for debate. Now, you may remember a while ago that Marvel were actually looking for their own version of Norman Osborn, and though it was initially rumoured that Christian Bale would be taking up the mantle, we now know that he's playing a far different character in Thor: Love and Thunder. From what I hear, Marvel have been pretty upset with the people that have come forward, and they're actually looking to bring Dafoe across for the next phase of Tom Holland's journey. Now, I can't say anything beyond dude bro trust me right now, but hey, that's just what I hear, and I'm glad that this report from the Illuminati has came out to kinda back up what I've been told. According to the report, their deals are being finalised, but they are indeed a part of the Spider-Man 3 master plan. Unfortunately, they were unable to get any info on the size of their appearances, however, judging by all the cast members, it's hard to imagine them being that huge. And I've also heard Tom Holland's gonna be in the film, eh? You having that? Now when announcements are made this late into production, it normally means that things are gonna be a sort of cameo role, and that does fit in with how Dafoe may go forth to star in other films and projects beyond this. The last time we saw Osborn, he was being impaled by his own Gilda. But Gilda?
The blade that pierced his body came from his gilder.
Whilst that was a death sentence, the fact that we know Doc Ock is returning shows that in the multiverse death isn't the end, and we will likely see a version appear from an alternate reality in which he wasn't killed by his own hand. In the comics, this fate befell Osborn, but due to the serum within him, he was revived because of a healing factor that allowed him to be resurrected. So there is precedent for his return, and for me, this would be the big get in the movie. And though other villains returning like Doc Ock are big news, I think that Dafoe coming back is the one that fans are willing to push Aunt May down the stairs for. Now so far the lineup is pretty stacked with Electro, which I guess yay, but this would really teach Sony for killing him off in the first place, you schmuck. You may remember that there was an original design for the Goblin's costume that looked absolutely incredible, and I would love to see this in live action for the 3rd MCU outing. The Naughties, they were a weird time where it was seen as stupid to make things look like how they did in the comic books, but I'm glad that times have changed because all the leather, though kinky, isn't really in keeping with the characters. The report also states that Thomas Haden Church is going to be brought back due to his power set being something that will look visually amazing. Though I hate sand because it gets everywhere, even in my vagina, I have to admit that the Sandman effects which were used in the third Raimi film really blew my mind at the time, and apparently the studio is going for things that will look good on screen, which is why they've picked to bring him back alongside Electro. Yay. Now, he's not the only character coming back either, and if you're blind, then you've probably missed the news that Charlie Cox was returning as Daredevil. I'm sorry, you know what? I try to be clever with the puns, but that blind one was absolutely atrocious. Anyway, Charlie Cox is back as Daredevil for the film officially now, and he will be appearing as Peter Parker's lawyer in the movie before going over to She-Hulk for some fun in the series. Now, if you cast your mind back to when your boy was Deffinition all the time, we actually reported on this story and said that Marvel were waiting for the rights to the character to expire with Netflix so that things could move over to the House of Mouse, and that officially happened last week before the announcement. Kevin Smith also let it slip he'd heard something in the industry, and though he later denied this, it got widely reported. Clearly something had been going on, and I actually spoke to the Cultured Nerd last week about what was happening, and they said that Feige was planning on rebooting almost every one of the Defenders, but fan response and the hashtag Save Daredevil campaign completely swayed his mind. Apparently what he wanted to do originally was just reboot the universe and keep Cox and Bernthal, aka the Punisher. But after all the fan outcry, it made him realise that all these Netflix shows are beloved portrayals that people want to see in the MCU. Now because of this, apparently, Vincent D'Onofrio will also be returning as the Kingpin. No one outside of Cox is signed on just yet, but with the announcements of several branches to Disney Plus that will see more adult content coming to the app, Feige also wants to drop some big Marvel properties on it that will allow for these characters to come back bigger, brighter, and sassier before. Give me some sass. Now, it's all completely mind-blowing news, and it seems that Spider-Man 3 will pretty much launch a lot of new MCU properties. The first 3 phases of the Marvel Universe set up the main timeline, which all built towards Endgame, but judging off the upcoming Wallcrawler movie, the Loki trailer, Doctor Strange and WandaVision, there's gonna be a big focus on the multiverse going ahead, which will allow for these characters to come across as well as Marvel's first family. Now if you watched the Disney Investor Day event last Thursday, then you'll know that Marvel announced they are in the process of making a Fantastic Four film directed by John Watts. Watts is behind the entire Spider-Man MCU trilogy, and why this is ironic is because the Fantastic Four were actually a big part of Spider-Man's origins in the comics, so it's like things have almost been flipped for the film universe. At the moment, though we don't have any casting announcements in regards to it, you've probably seen several rumours over the last year saying that John Krasinski and Emily Blunt have both been in talks to play Reed Richards and Sue Storm respectively. From what I'm hearing, this has been pushed ahead, and we should be getting an official announcement pretty soon. That's probably the rumour out of all of these that I know the least about, and I'm not too sure on the source, but it's been reported enough by so many outlets that I think there's a high possibility it'll come true. Now you may remember that in Fan 4 Stick, the group were messing around with alternate dimensions, and I think that this plot point will be brought across to the MCU reboot, and it will be how they enter the main timeline. I actually think that Spider-Man 3 may be the first look that we get at them, and it could come in a post-credit scene that teases their next appearance. As we know, Marvel like to set up their upcoming films through these little vignettes, so it makes sense for Watts to end his trilogy by showcasing the next franchise that he's going to be working on. Now before we get into the Snyder Cut news, don't forget that on the 30th of December we're giving away 3 copies of the Lord of the Rings 4K box set to our subscribers. All you have to do to be on with a chance of winning is make sure you subscribe with notifications on and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the updates. Anyway, our last story today revolves around Zack Snyder's Justice League and why the director thinks that the series will be R-rated. In a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly, home of your weekly entertainment, Snyder said, "The movie is insane and so epic and is probably rated R. That's one thing I think will happen, that it will be an R-rated version for sure. We haven't heard from the MPAA, but that's my gut." When saying why he thinks this, he said Ben Affleck uses the F word in one scene, Cyborg swears a lot, and Steppenwolf hacks people in half. Now this is pretty big news, and it means that the movie won't be for kids. As Batman said, sometimes you just can't get rid of a bomb, but I'm actually surprised that they're going to have The Dark Knight dropping the F word, because Warner usually tend to market these things so they can sell toys to kids and adults. Yeah, they're not toys, they're action figures. Now I think it will completely change the universe, and who knows, it might paint these characters out in a completely different light going forward. And there has been some backlash to it, and the memes have been out of this world, but meh, in the right context, I think it could work quite well. I don't want it to turn into Scarface, but you know, a couple here and there probably won't change things too much. Now Warner Bros had no comment in regards to Snyder's statement, so we don't have an official announcement just yet, but with 2021 drawing ever closer, it's likely that we will find out what's happening sooner rather than later. Anyway, that's pretty much all the news, and thanks for sticking with me until the end of the video. The links to our socials are in the description below, and we've also just created an Instagram account, so please get following, because I'm begging you. Now if you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the Marvel What If trailer, which will be linked on screen right now. We go through the entire thing and point out all the Easter eggs, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want to know more. With that out of the way, thank you for visiting the Heavy Spoilers Show. I've been Paul, and I'll see you next time, yeah? You take care of yourself, son. Peace.